The 707th edition of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with promo code MMA SGPN to get a 50% deposit bonus of up to $1,000. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. Start crushing the college football and NFL seasons with Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM.
Yo, Degenerinos, welcome to episode, good start, episode, that's the word, episode 707 of the MMA Gambling Podcast, the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, dedicated to MMA Ricky. Is that his name? Yeah, that's his name. Active on our YouTube channel and in our comments. This goes out to you and to everyone else watching this episode. I am Big Body Taco Fox, even though Screen may say Jeff Chalks is the name. That's one of my alter egos. We're doing something different for you today. No UFC this week. We just did 3 PFL episodes, which you people are gobbling up like Thanksgiving turkey. So thank you for checking that out. Today we're going across the pond and we're going to cover one of the bigger promotions in Australia, Eternal MMA. They have back-to-back events going on this weekend, Friday and Saturday. So we're going to pick and choose Gumby's favorite fights from each of the events, give you some picks on it, be out of your orifices in due time, and everyone will have a good time. These events are on UFC Fight Pass, so you can watch them this weekend, so should be a good time. So let's bring in the man who actually, hopefully he knows a thing or two about Eternal MMA. That would be the one and only Daniel Gumby Vreeland. Hello.
I do know a thing or two about Eternal MMA. I typically watch it, even if I don't know all of the people. This one, at least the first card we're going to talk about, I knew people right away on it. Second one, I had to do a little bit more research, especially because it looks like they brought in some people from outside the country to fill some of those fights, which sometimes they do just to like prove that they're testing their prospects and not just feeding them to the locals. The easy local journeyman and stuff like that. So it is a fun card, I think. And a couple of spots we're predicting lines today because we're a little bit ahead of the books.
Right.
You do usually see lines for Eternal MMA on the offshores, so make sure to keep your eyes out for those, and especially because it's on Fight Pass. They love posting lines for stuff on Fight Pass, and I'm predicting that there are going to be a couple of spots where the books are going to slip up here. So you're going to want to make sure to listen.
Yeah, you got to think there's less money coming in on events like this. So the lines aren't quite as sharp as UFC lines, right?
Correct. And in general, that's just true about regional MMA is that they're not nearly as sharp as ones where tons of money's flying in. And especially when you get to like the smaller regionals, like in Australia, there's only really 2 shows going down there. There's more than 2 shows. I'm sorry for insulting all the other Australian promotions, especially because more Australians are probably listening to this episode than ever before. But like, it's like Eternal and Hex are like the 2 big guys down there. So like with only like kind of 2-part regional scene down there and then like some other really small ones, like, those will be even less sharp probably.
Awesome. Well, we will definitely sharpen them up after this episode when all you degens flood the books with your plays for Eternal. So we'll get to it in 1 second after I tell you about our promotion we're doing right now in honor of Thanksgiving, which was last month. So I think this must be an old ad read, but I'll continue anyhow. In honor of Thanksgiving, we're running a massive merch sale Thursday through Sunday this week. Everything is 25% off with the promo code Black Friday, all one word. That's right, 25% off, including everything, including all of our merch, like a hat I'm wearing or any of the MMA Gambling Podcast gear. Tons of stuff in our store. So check it out. That would be sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store, promo code Black Friday. All right. Even you Aussies are invited. So come on down. All right. We're going to Eternal MMA 91st, which is going down on Friday in us. Okay, here's another question. So Friday in Australia or Friday in our part of the world is it going down?
I think whenever you're looking at it on Tapology, it automatically changes the date for you.
That's true.
So I think you're in a good spot just by guessing. But I'm pretty sure it's the wee hours of the morning Friday if you're East Coast US.
Yep. Friday 5 a.m. Eastern is when it kicks off.
Yeah, so then that would be 5 p.m. their time? No, it's more than that. It'd be like 8
little more
p.m.
than
their
that.
time.
Friday evening, yeah. All right, cool. UFC Fight Pass, as we mentioned, so that makes it convenient for us. This one's going down in the Southport Sharks venue in Gold Coast, Queensland, Australia. We got 13 fights. We're going to pick a couple off this one because this one is not the first fight card is not quite as solid as the one that we're going to cover next. A lot of fighters who not a lot of experience. So it's going to be interesting to see how Gumby does handicapping these. Starting with this fight, we just added this one because the fight fell off. This one is a flyweight bout. Oden, Muscat, Joseph Larcinese, both from Australia, both flyweights, 3 5-minute rounds. Larcinese is big, sexy, 2-0 with submissions. Both the fights have taken place in Eternal. Muscat, the God of War, 1-0 with 1 knockout. That fight took place in Eternal, 2 years younger than Larcinez. I guess actually, this wouldn't be that hard to find tape on because they both fought in Eternal already, right?
Yeah, I mean, I could get tape on literally everybody fighting on the 5 fights we're breaking down here. I think Larcinese is going to come in here as the favorite, both being 2-0, and like he's picked up kind of impressive wins in his fights. So I think like he's looked dominant in those fights. So I think he's going to be a favorite. I'm going to guess close to 2-1. Maybe negative 200, like a plus 170 on the other side for Muscat. And I'm actually going to go with the dog here because if you watch Larcinese, like I think he's really good when it comes to grappling. Like I really like his jiu-jitsu. I really like his ability to find submissions, find people's backs. I like his transitions. I just don't really like his wrestling. I think there's some things he does in terms of wrestling that look like a little bit lackluster and perhaps not as fundamental as they could be. And granted, he's only 2-0 and he's on the regional scene. So like, I probably shouldn't be hating that much, but it's enough for me to not like him against Muscat because Muscat is very electric on the feet. Like he is very fast, very quick. He's explosive. He's sharp. He switches stances sometimes. He's very light on his feet. And for a flyweight, he generates a lot of power. Like a lot of power for a dude who's only 125 pounds and only had 1 pro fight. So like, if you've seen this guy fight, like I think the difference on the feet is going to be massive. And like, you know me, I'm the first guy out there who wants to grab a grappler over a striker. You know that's my MO. But when that grappler is really good at jiu-jitsu and maybe not so much at wrestling, I think you have to like pump the brakes a little bit. I think you have to ask, like, can he dictate where this fight takes place? And I don't think he can in this case against Muscat. So I'm going to take Muscat striking, especially because he's explosive and has that KO power. I'm going to take Muscat here, and I'm hoping you can get him at dog money.
Better name too of the two, Oden
Muscat. Yeah, there's some sick names on these cards.
There is some good Aussie names. All right, so that's the first pick of the God of War over Big Sexy. All right, to the main event on Friday, Brentin Mumford. There's another good name, Brentin, versus David Martinez, both Australian. They're at 170 pounds, 3 5-minute rounds. We'll tell you about Martinez first. The Smiling Assassin, 13-6, 2 knockouts, 4 submissions. He's been knocked out twice, submitted twice. He's 9-4 in Eternal. He was the former champion 2 times over for this promotion. He's won 2 straight and 4 or 5. Regional champ. He used to fight at 155, 6 years younger than Mumford. Mumford, no name is the nickname, which is a fantastic nickname. 11-8, 5 knockouts, 3 submissions. He's been submitted 3 times. 4-4 in Eternal. Win-loss over his last 4. 2-4 over his last 6. Lost the last fight via submission. That was back in May of 2021. He's not won a fight since March of 2021. He got submitted by Martinez back in May of 2019. Used to fight at featherweight and lightweight. 2011 was his pro MMA debut. 2 inches reach over Martinez. So basically the opposite of the fight. We just broke down a couple of veterans, a couple of guys who have fought a lot in Eternal as well.
Yeah, and you got to assume Martinez is going to come in here as a massive favorite, like negative 500, negative 600. He's a 2-time champ. He's got the win over Mumford. Mumford's got a layoff. Like there's no reason that the books would be fooled by anything going on here. And I'm going to go Martinez because if you look at that fight with Mumford, like the big difference is Martinez is kind of like a pressure wrestler. Like that's the style he wants to bring to the fights he has. And like I'm not going to reduce him to only that. Like his hands aren't bad either. And, but like at the end of the day, what he wants to do is get on top of you and put you in an arm triangle or rear naked choke you. And that's what he did to Mumford last time, right? It's like he brought the grind to Mumford. He put him on his back. He took him down. He held him down and he submitted him. And like Mumford's fun on the feet. Like it's going to be even less enticing for David Martinez to trade with him than he already, he's already deterred from doing that because he likes to pressure wrestle. And like Mumford is a guy who throws like spinning hook kicks and all kinds of flying things. Like he just likes to be wild and creative on the feet, which, two double problem here against Martinez because it's going to make Martinez not want to trade with him in the first place. And then secondly, it's going to create openings for Martinez to take him down, to drag him to the mat, to make this fight ugly. Martinez is going to be a favorite to the size where you're probably not going to want to bet just like him all alone in the money line. But I don't see any reason to be scared away from like just boosting your parlay odds a little bit with David Martinez. So I like Martinez here. I think he's an easy winner for Friday.
All right. An easy winner is what we want. All right. Before we move on into the next night of action, we're going to tell you about Underdog. Underdog Pick'em is one of the biggest menus for all sports. They got NFL, college football, college basketball, MMA, NBA, NASCAR, and more. And you can now use specials and boosts on all flex entries. And Gumby probably has to play for us. Hopefully has to play for us.
Yeah, sure. For if you're listening to this on Wednesday, as we have just posted this, you should get in on PJ Washington's higher than on his rebounds. Underdog, for some reasons, got him listed at only 7.5, and he's had double figures literally every game since Luka Doncic has been hurt. So I'll take PJ Washington's higher than on his rebounds.
Fantastic play. Sign up with our code MMA SGPN to claim your special pick and first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code MMA SGPN. All right, let's go to Australia. Stick with Australia. We're time traveling though to the next night, which fittingly enough is called Eternal MMA 91 on UFC Fight Pass. Saturday, November 30th, Gold Coast, Queensland. Same venue, Southport Sharks. And this one is Saturday, 5 a.m. Eastern. So you got stuff to drunkenly watch both Friday and Saturday for you drunk Americans. All right, this one, 16 fights. So this is the bigger of the fight card, and it's got 2 title fights at the top of the card. So this is definitely the premier card of the 2. We're going to break down 3 of the fights, and then we'll have actually plenty to choose from for our lightning round. 2 nights worth of fights to break down for Gumby to choose from. All right, let's kick things off with the main card fight. Blair, Bretag, Cam, Rowston, 3 5-minute rounds, 185. Tell you about Rowston first. Van Dam is the nickname. He's 9-3, 3 knockouts, 6 submissions. So he's finished every one. He's been knocked out himself once, so he still owes us some rounds here. This is his debut in Eternal. He's won 6 of his last 7, including his last fight via submission. He's got multiple regional championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get the shirt. sportsgamblingplugins.com/store. Get sticky. And remember the code Black Friday, 25% off. 0-1 on Contender Series. Who did you lose to, Gumby?
Terez Finney.
Correct. He did lose to Terez Finney. He used to fight at 205, 1-0 in Pro Muay Thai. Is this the guy who lost to Carlos Ulberg as well? I think there's someone on this card that lost to Carlos Ulberg.
If he did, it was way earlier in his career.
I believe.
It wouldn't surprise me because he used to fight it at light heavyweight, so it wouldn't surprise me if that showed up.
Pretty sure it was him. Bretag, 3-1 with 3 knockouts. He's been knocked out once. He definitely owes his rounds. Damn it. 2-0 in Eternal. He's won 2 straight. He used to fight at 205 as well.
So I think Rowston being the guy with way more fights, having been on Contenders, it got to be a massive favorite here. Negative 350 range probably. You're going to get 3-1 on Bretag. And I'm actually going to go with Bretag.
All right.
I think here's my problem is that if you watched Rowston in that fight with Terez Finney, or actually for any of his fights, because he has fought since then, and there's plenty of film out there on him. He's like a guy who's really tall and keeps his hands low. I think just because he's never really been afraid of people getting after him, because he is so tall, so long, so hard to hit sometimes. and he doesn't necessarily do like the tall guy defense stuff where he leans away, but he's not as defensively sound as he could be. He also seems to want to wrestle in most cases, which is, bad for a guy with a lot of height. And I'm not really impressed by his offensive wrestling. Obviously in the Trez Finney fight, I wasn't impressed with his defensive wrestling either, but Finney's kind of a freak. And so I'm not really impressed with his offensive wrestling. I'm not really impressed with his defensive striking. He's got a few knockouts on his record, so you can give him some credit for that. But apart from throwing the knees up the middle, I'm not sure what I'm really supposed to love about Cam Rowston here. And if you watch Bretag's pressure is really incredible. When he moves forward, he also is not defensively sound, but in a very different way. He's not defensively sound because he's so busy trying to punch you that he's open for counters. And maybe that's where Rowston finds the fight here, and maybe why I'm maybe reaching for an underdog here. But I'll take the guy who's overly aggressive and hurts people. I mean, all of his wins have come by knockout. He moves forward. He throws big bombs. He puts together combinations. I really like the fact that he throws so many elbows. Bretag does. Anytime he's getting in range, he wants to throw an elbow. So I'll take the guy looking to do damage, who's a little bit more active, forward pressure. And if both guys kind of suck off or defensively striking, who would you rather have? You'd rather have the guy with 100% finish rate. So I'll go with Blair Bretag here. Makes
perfect sense to me. All right. So maybe you should be alarmed by that. All right, we're moving on to nothing but title fights the rest of the way. The Eternal MMA Flyweight Championship is the first bout we're going to break down. This is the co-main event. Frank Jankowski, the current champ. Takeshi Taniguchi from Japan is the challenger. 5-minute rounds if they need it. 125 pounds. The challenger first. Taniguchi's 4-1, 1 knockout, 2 submissions. He's never been finished in a fight himself. This is his debut, walking right into a title fight. He's won 3 straight, 2 straight via finish. He's not lost since April 2022. Used to fight up at bantamweight. Jankowski, Frank the Tank. Jankowski is 5-1, 1 knockout, 2 submissions. He's been submitted once. He's 4-1 in Eternal and the current champion. He won his fight. He won the belt in his last fight. He's won 2 straight fights, both via submission. He is a regional champion. He is a year younger than Taniguchi.
His only loss is Drillich too, right? Anthony Drillich.
Yep, that sounds right.
Yeah, who is a Contender Series winner, but not contract winner. I think Jankowski is going to be the favorite here, being the hometown guy. I don't think by much, though, because the records are similar and the level of competition is not all that different. So I'm going to say negative 165 on Jankowski, in the plus 140 range for Taniguchi. And this is another spot where I think they're maybe underestimating the underdog. I imagine the books are not going to like the Japanese guy going to Australia to fight the Australian champion, but I really do think Taniguchi is the better fighter here. If you watch Jankowski, the thing that I just kept wondering if my computer was buffering when I was watching his fights, because he's really slow for a flyweight. And I don't mean that he's bad, but just flyweights usually look like they're in super speed. And he looked like he was notably slow. When you watch Oden Muscat, who we talked about from Friday's card, that dude is so quick. And even Joseph Larcinese, who I think is going to be the slower fighter in that fight, I still think it's faster than Frank Jankowski. And it's sort of because he sits back on his heels. He really likes throwing this front push kick or this front kick right up the middle to try to knock you out. Look, it lands sometimes. You got to give him credit for that. But Taniguchi, first of all, way faster. Second of all, kind of has 6 submissions. It says he won his last fight by rear naked choke. That's actually incorrect. That was a Darcy choke. But his way of getting in on those chokes is nasty. He finds people's necks. He latches on. He transitions through all of the grappling positions really well. And Jankowski wants to be a rangy striker. So he doesn't want to mix it up with a grappler in there. And then in addition to that, Taniguchi hurts people with his hands. I don't mean to keep referencing the other flyweight fight we talked about, but power at flyweight is really important because it is a huge equalizer, right? That's why we like Charles Johnson in a lot of fights, despite him having a grappling disadvantage, 5 times out of 6. Taniguchi here has probably the grappling advantage and a power advantage. the end of the day, I think the only reason why you could get in on the Jankowski side is Taniguchi's hands are low. Like when he's striking, his hands are perhaps dangerously low. But also, like with a front kick being your biggest offensive weapon on your feet, I'm not sure the low hands is like worries me as much as it would if this guy was throwing hooks and, overhand rights and stuff like that. Like, I don't think his hands need to necessarily be all the way up in his chin to still be able to defend that front kick up the middle and that push kick up the middle. So I'm going to go Taniguchi. I think probably small underdog. Wouldn't terribly surprise me if this fight came in as a pick'em because, the records are similar, but I think the hometown thing should get us Taniguchi here as an underdog.
All right. That's what we like to hear. All right. Before we hear Gumby's picks for the main event and lightning round, let me tell you about MyBookie, mybookie.ag. We are brought to you by mybookie.ag. MyBookie has been running on SGPN for years. Check out their new and improved website. Great on mobile, plus props for every game and the live dealer casino. Even new early cash out options. Check out the MMA bets there and head to mybookie.ag with our promo code SGPN for 100% deposit bonus, deposit match, up to $1,000 plus a $10 casino chip. So 100% deposit match up to $1,000 plus a $10 casino chip. That's mybookie.ag, promo code SGPN. Rhythm, SGPN's proud partner. Rhythm is the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds. Get predictions for betting on money lines, spreads, totals, and props. Build your model, copy one of the top performing models from the leaderboard, or have Rhythm build you a model. And you can now track props in the Rhythm app. NFL picks, NFL props, college football, college basketball, NBA. Rhythm has it all, including Al Horford, of course. Check out the Al Horford props and claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. All right, main event of night 2 and of the weekend, basically, for Eternal is for the Eternal Middleweight Championship. John Martin Fraser from Wales versus Darcy Vendy from Australia. 5-minute rounds, 185 pounds. Tell you about Vendy first. This is the vacant championship. I should ask you, I guess. Gumby, why is it vacant?
Is there a middleweight that the UFC got from
maybe
Eternal recently? Let me think about that.
Okay, you think about it. I'll tell you about Vendy while Gumby's thinking about it. Vendy is 5-3, 2 knockouts, 2 submissions. He's been knocked out 3 times, so he owes his rounds. 2-2 in Eternal. He's won 3 straight, the last 2 via TKO. He's not lost since March 2019. He's a regional champion, or was. Used to fight at welterweight, 2014 pro MMA debut. 3 years younger than Fraser, 3 inches of reach on him. Fraser is 8-4 with 7 knockouts. He's been knocked out once, submitted once. 5-3 in Eternal. A 2-time champion for Eternal, a former champion trying to get his belt back. Lost win over his last 4. 6-2 over his last 8. Won his last fight via knockout. Used to fight at heavyweight and light heavyweight. Gumby, to you.
I didn't figure out what happened to this belt, but it's vacant. I'm gonna go here with John Martin Fraser. I think he's probably gonna be close to a 2-1 favorite. Let's say like -185 or something like that. The reason, the reigning champion, Darcy Vendy's record doesn't look, I actually think he's better than his record states. 5-3, you look at a 5-3 title challenger and you're like, what the hell? But a lot of his losses came early in his career. He's clearly like rounded out his game since then. The difference for me is just like John Martin Fraser is, for a middleweight, one of the like better looking regional prospects you're going to see in terms of striking. Like, lots of nuance to what he does, really good footwork, really good stance switches. I love the way that he pressures and cuts off the cage. He throws really well. I think all of those things give him a massive advantage over Vendy, because Vendy, to me, really limited in terms of his striking. Like, if he can't get his wrestling going in this fight, I think it is a really short night for him. Because Fraser, that's his best attribute. And with Vendy, like, that is clearly his biggest weakness. Vendy, I'll give him credit. He has the grappling that in theory could be a big equalizer. He gets into the clinch really easily. He doesn't always finish the takedowns easy, but he's got some like nice body lock stuff that he uses. I just ultimately don't think he's going to do it consistently enough that he's going to be able to stay away from the bombs that Fraser throws. And especially with the footwork and the pressure that Fraser brings. Like Vendy's going to be on his back foot. That also makes it obviously a lot harder to get in on the takedowns you want. And Fraser also gets off the cage pretty well too if he is trapped. So I'm going to go with John Martin Fraser. Hopefully get him south of 2-1 here, so that there's still some value there.
All right, Gumby is got it locked up. Okay, the intern got back to me. The middleweight champion Ben Johnston retired. So
okay,
retired on top. So the belt is up. The belt is in limbo currently. All right, that's a recap of Gumby pick over the 2 nights, and then we'll get some lightning round picks for you. Night 1, he's got Martinez. He's got Muscat. Muscat hopefully as a dog for us. Night 2, he's got Fraser. He has got Taniguchi as a dog, hopefully, and he has got Bretag as a big dog, hopefully. So some good lines hopefully are going to drop until you, the gens, get your grubby hands and grubby money on them. All right, lightning round. You got lots to choose from. What have you chosen for the Zap Bang Boom Pow lightning round?
So on the first line, I'm going to take Osh Jackson. That's OSH Jackson. He is a heavyweight who is 0-0. You know how I like me some 0-0 heavyweights.
Yep.
You might be able to get him at a really great number if they are going to offer odds on the real early fights on the card. Because he's 0-0 and he's fighting a guy who's 2-0. You kind of sleep on those guys, but I've seen him fight on the on the Amis. And he's a Justin Taffa, Junior Taffa training partner with very similar style to Justin Taffa and Junior Taffa, like big puncher, really sure of himself on his feet. And I've seen him hit the big knockout. So I think that's another thing that could play in here. So I like Osh Jackson to kind of be like a surprise if you can get him at, wild numbers. And then the other one I like is Don Marthan. Don Marthan is a 5-2 prospect. He's going to be fighting on the second night. And he, despite being 5-2, which you're like, okay, well, that's a decent record. Both losses are to Killian Salkild, who is now in the UFC. So for both of his losses to be a guy in the UFC, like you're obviously saying to yourself, like, this is a guy who is like, nipping at the heels of being a prospect like Salkild. And, I really like the way he's rounded out his game. He's also got the sickest nickname out there. He's Street Buddha. Instead of Street Jesus, which I really enjoy. So I'm going to go with Street Buddha, Don Marthan, as well as Osh Jackson for my lightning round picks.
There you go. You can't go wrong with Street Buddha. So you are set heading into Thanksgiving if you're American. We'll be back tomorrow, though. No days off for us. In the meantime, we shall be in the Discord, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. We shall be on our YouTube channel, of course, MMA Gambling Podcast. You can hit us up in the comments. Thanks to everyone who are consuming the PFL episodes. Very, very popular episodes, which is good to see. What else can you do? You can reach us on Twitter. Gumby runs our Twitter account at SGPN MMA. He's at Gumby Vreeland. I'm a Jeff Fox writer there and on Instagram. I have a Substack you can check out at moneymma.substack.com. Gumby has another podcast called the Top Turtle MMA Podcast. Who is on the Top Turtle MMA Podcast this week, Gumby?
Jose Perez and Jeremy Kennedy, who are both fighting on that aforementioned PFL card.
So check it out. And of course, we're at sportsgamblingpodcast.com, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store. Remember, Black Friday is your code for that. And 25% off, and sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon to get some bonus content. We shall be back tomorrow. Big, sexy Jeff Fox. No name, Gumby Vreeland. We shall talk to you then.